I'm Vasel. Welcome to Board Game Breakfast. Well, what a week. It has been so busy around here, and my to-do list, which I've already made for this coming week, has so many things on it, but I'm very excited. Whenever we get close to June, there's just a lot of fun things going on. So let's start here. First of all, tonight at 9:30 Eastern Time, I'm going to be doing a live Q&A, but this time I'll be joined by my lovely wife. I'm recording this on our anniversary, our 17th anniversary, which is May 15th, so the day after, so she's agreed to come on another time. Also this coming Saturday, Havoc in Homestead. Come and watch us play live games against Rodney Smith from Watch It Played and Stephen Bonacore, enemy of the Dice Tower. Not really, but both these guys are a lot of fun to play games with. We'll be doing 2 sessions, around 4 hours each, this coming Saturday, so hopefully you can come and hopefully we'll have a good time and see some new exciting games or old fun games to watch during that. The UK Gaming Expo is coming up in just a few weeks. Sam Healy and I will be there. We'll be doing a live show. I hope you guys can come by and see us there. If you're going to be at the UK Gaming Expo and you're interested in some of our promos, like our Sheriff of Nottingham promos or maybe a pair of dice or something, let me know, and there's a possibility I might bring some along in my bag. Our convention schedules this week, all of our convention schedules for Origins, Dice Tower Con, Gen Con, and UK Gaming Expo, the next 4 big conventions we're going to, we'll have those posted at our website so you can see exactly what we're going to be doing at each of the cons and how you can run into us there. Again, specifically reminding people that Origins, our event is not on the grid there. It's 9 o'clock Saturday night. If you want to come, you just need to show up. Come by our booth sometimes at Origins. We'll have a sign there that gives the information as to where to go. You'll need a generic ticket to get to that, but that's 9 o'clock Saturday night. And Gen Con, as of me recording this, half our tickets to our live event have sold out, but it seems to have slowed down, so hopefully you still have a chance to get those. That is at 1 o'clock on Friday at Gen Con. And you also notice that me, Rodney Smith, and Jamie from Secret Cabal are going to be doing a how-to do's and don'ts of podcasting and videos, kind of a nuts and bolts about, what we're doing here aspect. And let's see. Well, that seems to be everything on my list of to-dos. Let's get to the gaming news. Okay, let's get to the news here. First of all, from Fantasy Flight, several things. They have announced the Signs of Carcosa, another Eldritch Horror expansion, and it seems like they're not quite telling the truth when they said that Eldritch Horror would not be as bloated as Arkham Horror, because I feel like it's going to get there, or if not already there. There's another expansion for Descent. This one also has a lot of expansions, but I'm really excited about this one. Chains That Rust. This is an expansion that adds more monsters and more heroes, but this lets heroes multi-class. This is something we haven't seen in Descent before. Multi-classing is always something I found fascinating in games like Dungeons & Dragons and so on, so I'm excited to see that here where you can mix classes. We'll see how that works. And some more characters for Imperial Assault, including classic Obi-Wan Kenobi and Greedo, but Obi-Wan Kenobi! So there's that. Profiteer Press has released a statement that says ever since they put their new policy into effect that was deliberately targeting deep discounters and promoting stores, that they've added 200 stores to their roster and that their games, War Machine and Hordes, are selling out, basically. Take that as it will, but they're saying that their policy has had very positive results. USAopoly, it's been leaked that they have a new game coming out, a Harry Potter Hogwarts deck building game. Now, the problem I'm finding with this is I can't figure out who the designer of this game is. I want this to be a good game. The Harry Potter theme seems like it's rife for some really good board games. Quick, name some great Harry Potter board games. Yeah, that's right, you really can't. So maybe this would be the one? We can only hope. Rather Dashing has announced a new game, We Come in Peace. This one looks like a dice chucking game where you're fighting other people, aliens going after each other, and you're chucking dice as your opponent is. Probably a lighter game that seems to be Rather Dashing's MO. AEG has some new expansions for both Doomtown and Epic PvP, and the very cool sounding and looking Dice Heist. That's one of those names that when I heard I thought, wow, what a great name for a board game. Thames and Cosmos has 2 games coming out. Imhotep, which is an Egyptian-themed Euro-style game. It looks really cool, actually. And Smugglers. This one has one of the weirdest themes I've ever heard of. It uses clay, and essentially you could be hiding items in a ball of clay. You roll them down trying to make them go through the chute, and if they don't go through the chute, then other players will try to guess what is inside the ball of clay. Okay, this is a new one. I have never heard of a game of this type before, and I really want to play it. Stronghold has announced some more games in their Great Designer series, a series in which apparently some designers are better than others. Craftwagon, which was already published in Europe, and then Fog of War, a new game to the line, and that's from designers Jeff Engelstein, who has now been elevated, apparently, to great designers. And then upcoming after that, Jorvik, because every Great Designer series by anyone who does Euro games has to have a Stefan Feld game in it. And also they're showing up the cover for Dragon and Flagon, a game I'm still very excited about. I played this game back when it was an old game. It came in a record, that's before CDs for you, those you don't know, a record case. And it was a game in which you were kind of programming movement, moving around, pulling rugs, swinging from candlesticks, in a tavern, just a big brawl. And it was clunky, but I really liked it, and I'm hoping that this reworking of it is really good. Huge news, broke very early in the week, was Warhammer Quest Silver Tower. Games Workshop announced this game that people have been dying to come back, so there's almost no information about it, but of course, Games Workshop has been printing a lot of board games these days. I'm sure we will eventually see this one. I'm not as excited about it as other people because Warhammer Quest is very fascinating to me, very much looking forward to it, just not so keen on having to put miniatures together. I do hope that it's a nice alternative to the dungeon crawl scene, though there's not a whole lot of those games out there. Although the next thing on my list here, Siege of Citadel from Modifius. This one looks like a much simpler one, closer to Hero Quest. But hey, that's cool that a lot of these games are coming out. Whew, that's a lot of news. Let's get to Kickstarter.
Happy breakfast, everybody. Today we're going to take a look at some of the bigger projects on Kickstarter, so let's get going. This War of Mine, the board game, is a fully cooperative game based on the award-winning video game. Tackling the struggles of everyday people caught up in the midst of a war, players are simply trying to survive to the ceasefire. During the day, you're going to search your shelter, craft new equipment, meet with visitors, and try to come up with new ideas on ways to survive. But at night, you need to go out and explore and search for supplies and equipment, which is risky because you will encounter other survivors who are doing everything they can do to survive. The theme and story of this game is pretty dark, but the story elements are very strong, with the game including an adventure book that has hundreds of adventures for you to explore. And beyond the excellent video game pedigree, this War of Mine, the board game, was designed by Michael Orts, who designed Neuroshima Hex. This War of Mine has a lot of different pledge levels that you should check out, but the base game takes a pledge of €50 plus shipping. Perhaps the exact opposite game of Pandemic, in Plague Inc., you are trying to spread disease and kill off countries with your virulence. Again, based on an award-winning video game, Plague Inc. has you evolving your pathogen by adding in new traits and developing new symptoms that strengthen you and your ability to spread. How often do you see a nosebleed as an upgrade? You're going to start in a single location and then work to spread around the world by taking advantage of events that hopefully help you and hinder your opponents. Plague Inc. basically takes all the best elements of the source game and then completely optimizes it for the tabletop experience. You can get the board game for a pledge of $30 plus shipping or for $36 if you want to include the 5-player expansion. In Outlive, Mother Nature has taken back the world, and players are leading their tribes in a game of survival in the hopes that they'll be picked up by a mythical convoy that will take them to safety. During the day, you go out and scavenge, risking radiation and encounters with raiders and giant rats. During the night, you go back and you have to feed your tribe and repair your shelter, but you better hope you brought back enough food. Outlive has some interesting worker placement and movement mechanisms with numbered workers that significantly impact your ability to move and take actions. The resource management element of the game is really tight economically, and overall the game has beautiful art. You can get a copy of Outlive with wooden workers for a pledge of €42 plus shipping, or you can get the version with a ton of plastic minis for a pledge of €79. In Sol, Last Days of Star, after generations of harvesting the sun for its energy, your star is about to go supernova. Players take on the role of different planets who are shipping out arcs into space in the hopes of escaping the star's exploding destruction. A competitive game with a mutual benefit element, players have to make sure that their stations and gates benefit themselves the most while taking advantage of what other players build. You're going to be harvesting energy and dealing with the star's increasing instability through clever placement of your sun divers as you race to survive. Sol Last Days of Star comes with some really cool looking minis as structures, and it can be yours for a pledge of $45 plus shipping. Finally, NSK Endgames is bringing us Mistfall, Heart of the Mists, which is a sequel to the adventure card game Mistborn. Heart of the Mists is a standalone expansion that features all new characters, equipment, and enemies that can be played solo or with up to 4 different players. You're going to fight the horrors of the mist by building up your character decks and battling through all new quests. There's minimal card repetition between Mistborn and Heart of the Mists, and they are designed to integrate seamlessly. And hey, kudos for women characters wearing practical armor. You can get Heart of the Mists for a pledge of $44, or for $72, you can get the copy that comes with a bunch of cool minis, and of course there's a pledge level that lets you pick up Mistborn as well. Okay, that's all I've got for you this episode. Hopefully something caught your eye. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful week.
Today I wanted to talk a little bit about painted miniatures. Now, when it comes to painting miniatures, I am no equal to Mr. Rob Oren, and I would never qualify to take his Painting 101 class.
What do you mean you don't want to... You don't want to do this? Really?
Luckily, about 10-15 years ago, Wizards of the Coast and other companies started coming out with pre-painted plastic miniatures, which are a little more affordable, a little more feasible for those of us who don't have that talent or interest necessarily. Recently, I completed my set of the 10 standard dragons in D&D, with the 5 chromatic dragons and the 5 metallic dragons representing aspects of good and evil. Some of these I bought in packs, some of them I bought on eBay, and most of them I got in a little place called Cool Stuff Incorporated. The details on these guys is amazing. The copper dragon with the oxidation where he's turning green like the Statue of Liberty. We have the blue dragon here on his rock all perched ready to spring. I think he's my favorite. We've got the gold dragon, which has the Chinese flavor. Really stands out. And then the stalwart silver and the mighty red. So terrifying. But there's one thing that's always really bugged me about this dragon setup is, do we really need a brass dragon and a bronze dragon? I mean, does anyone understand what makes these two dragons different? And are these colors really that different? I mean, look, okay, black and white, yes, we can tell those are different. But brass and bronze? What does that even mean? Why do we need this? Maybe there's some sort of clue in some sort of bit of D&D lore that I missed somewhere along the years. Maybe you know and can let me know. But I think it would have been cooler and more thematic to have like an iron dragon or a steel dragon, or they could have done something really scientific like a cesium dragon or a molybdenum dragon. I mean, wouldn't that have been good to have a molybdenum? Were they just so desperate to have 5 and 5 of each because we have Tiamat, who represents the 5 evil dragons, but they didn't really have anything on the other side? What would better metals have been than brass and bronze? Let me know if you have any ideas in the comments below, and we'll talk about that next time. Or possibly never, if no one really cares. But thanks a lot, Dice Tower Nation.
Hey there, this is Mike with the Board Game Makeover. In this week number 4 of a 5-week series of games on a plane, I'm going to show you one of the best games and the highest rated game on Board Game Geek and how it can be played on a plane, called Pandemic Legacy Simpsons Edition. No, I'm just kidding. I'm giving The Simpsons a rest. Instead, I'm going to bring you one of Tom Vasel's favorite games and show you how I gave it a mashup makeover to make it fun to play on a game. It's called Cosmic Encounter. Let me show you what I did. Each player starts with 12 dice, but they can only roll up to 6 at a time. The reason you start out with 12 dice is because in this game, you don't win the card just by putting your dice on here. You have to feel the card first, and then each player also has what's called a supernova dice. And when they roll this, and they can hit that number in the middle after filling this up, then they win the card. That's why you want to fill as many cards as you can. So my choices for actions are roll more of my dice in my dice pool, or roll my Supernova dice and try to win a card. Replace a card in play that has yours and at least one other player's dice on the card with a new card. Since he's ready to win this card, I'm going to replace this card with a new card. I don't mind losing one dice, but he's going to lose his full card of dice. Roll one dice in your dice pool and place it on this card. Your opponent's next turn may not use any dice that roll the same number. And I'd roll a dice in my dice pool, and it'd be a 6. So my opponent on his next turn, if he rolls any 6s, he can't use them. So the cards are very instrumental in winning this game, so you want to make sure you give yourself the best odds to win cards. So you take 2 mediocre games, Roll Fort and Cosmic Encounter, and you make a great game called Roll Fort Cosmic Encounter Special Edition. And not only that, it plays great on a plane. Thanks for watching the Board Game Makeover. We'll see you next time.
Hey folks, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
And this question is from Mark, and he says, what are your favorite side events at conventions? Not counting seeing new games or things like that. What are the side things that you like to do at conventions?
Well, are we going to talk, since you said not seeing new games, I guess we're not going to say like the little upfront shows that companies do for us, being in media. So we'll just skip over that area right away. But I'll go to something that I had fun with, and that was the dungeon thing. What was that called? True Dungeon. We had a lot of fun with that. It was a puzzle. It was sort of like a puzzle hunt room thing.
Right, I was thinking that this is like the prequel to Puzzle Rooms for you, right?
Yes, it was like pre-puzzle hunt rooms, and it was a blast. I mean, we had so much fun doing that. I mean, I was the thief or whatever I was called, and I was doing these separate puzzles, separate from the big puzzles they were doing, and then every time I finished, I'd be like, so are we good? And they'd be like, yeah, every time, and I kept asking if they were good because I had a choice of getting a hint to help them or to take the special weapon. And every time they said they were good, I'd be like, are you guys good? And Tom would be like, yeah, we're good. And I would always take the special weapon then. And little did I know that when I was asking him that, he didn't realize I was asking about, are they good solving the puzzle? And we never got a hint once, and they blamed me for it later.
So anyhow, yes, I like that too. I like side events of going out to eat and things. Gen Con, a side event I do each year if I get a chance, is go watch the parade. It's not that. If there's shows at an event, sometimes those are fun to go to, or panels. Usually nowadays we're running those things. But like if there's a game show, if I have a chance, I used to go to the Wits and Wagers game show all the time until now I run them. But before that, I just had a good time playing in those. Side events off campus, it depends on the convention. Conventions like Gen Con and Origins, I normally don't want to go out and do many other things other than go out to eat and come back.
Yes.
But something that a much lower key convention, maybe Dice Tower, Gathering of Friends, or Board Game Geek, I'm more content maybe to leave and go off and see a puzzle room or whatever.
Not just puzzle rooms. I mean, when we were at the Gathering, we went to Niagara Falls, we went exploring, we went up to Toronto, we did a bunch. At Dice Tower Con, one of the cool things is Disney is literally across the street, so you could go to Disney for a day and do things that are, fun, and they don't have to be gaming related, but you could do fun things.
But there's more sideshow stuff in a convention, the bigger it is. At Gen Con, there's a guy doing magic tricks. There's a band playing.
There's auctions. Those auctions are very interesting to see.
That's something that we do at night at Gen Con. When it's super late, we'll go watch the auctions for really valuable stuff no one wants except for 10 guys who are willing to pay a lot of money for it. And it's fascinating to watch them pay that money.
I know. For a Gary Gygax signed folder, it's not even part of a game. Look, we have this folder that Gary Gygax signed. It's $10,000.
Well, okay, that's slight exaggeration occurring there, but not much. Anyway, those are our side events we like at conventions. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel.
Jason Levine.
Hi everyone, welcome to the 101. We're continuing on with our dungeon tournament. Now, last week, in a complete shocker, Dungeon Saga beat one of my all-time favorite games, Space Hulk. So Space Hulk's out of here, along with Warhammer Quest. Boy, you guys are I just maybe don't have good taste in dungeon games. But anyways, Doom also won, so they both moved to the second round. Now, the first round is finally completed, and we have a epic matchup for the second round. Our very first second round matchup is Arcadia Quest versus Hero Quest, the two Quest games. So, let's get your votes. Either put them below in the comments below here, or send me an email to novaprime860@hotmail.com with some of your comments. I will be picking one person from there, and they will be getting a great Cool Stuff gift certificate. So, just keep those votes coming, keep all those comments, and keep all those pictures coming of all your work. And if you guys ever need help, you know enough to just email me and I will walk you through anything. So until next time, I'm Rob Orrin. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you very soon.
Hi, my name's Dave Adams. Welcome to Good Game, Better Gamers. Recently I had the chance to play Dungeon Twister for the first time. Dungeon Twister is a two-player competitive game that requires players to score victory points by getting their characters out of the dungeon through their opponent's end, or by using their characters to kill their opponent's character. The board is made up of tiles that you place face down during the setup. Before you begin the game, each player takes tokens from their pile of either characters or abilities or equipment and places them through the dungeon. Once we started the game, by the second round, my opponent had already scored 3 of the required 5 victory points. By this stage, I decided that the game was over. I had clearly lost, and there was nothing I could do to salvage it. During the post-game discussion, I was quite surprised to hear my opponent talk about the good moves that I made and the challenge I presented him in gaining back my victory points and making for a tight finish. This was because during the game, I didn't see any of those positive moves that I'd made, or at least didn't see those moves in a positive light. What I realised was that during the game, I was applying what's called a mental filter. Mental filtering is when we're so convinced of a negative situation that we capture all the negative thoughts and allow all the positive things to filter through. Mental filtering is a negative habit of mind that people can develop during stressful situations. Negative habits of mind are ways of thinking that distort reality and convince us of things that aren't true. When paired with negative emotions, they start to form false beliefs about ourselves that can impact our self-esteem, can impact our work, can impact our play, can impact our relationships, and can impact our gaming. Over the coming weeks, I want to explore some of these negative habits of mind and how we can learn from them to become better gamers. Until next week, I'm Dave Adams. Enjoy your breakfast.
Coming out for the Dice Tower this week, I'm going to be continuing my Alphabet series, and I think we're up to V and W, so you can look forward to that. I'll be taking a look at some new games. I have one really hot game, which I'm not announcing that I'm doing yet because it may not get done this week, but the chances of me putting everything else aside and getting this one done are pretty high. But I'm also going to be taking a look at Dwarves Incorporated, West of Africa, Crazy Cards, the Galaxy Trucker Missions expansion, a small game from Yellow, a Star Wars toy, Monarch, which is one of those games that was surprising that it was on tabletop. So I'll tell you if I think that one's any good. So you can look forward to that. There's going to be a board game blender coming out this week. And if you notice, we also start releasing some of the classic Dice Tower episodes. So last week you saw Dice Tower 1 and 2. This week you'll see 3 and 4 along with our regular Dice Tower episodes. We're going to slowly get it so eventually every Dice Tower episode will be available on our YouTube channel. All that and lots of podcasts. We are revamping the whole podcast system to some degree, making sure that all the Dice Tower Network podcasts are up to date. So you might see a few changes in and there. All that you can find at dicetower.com, or if you want to see our network podcast, dicetowernetwork.com.
Hello, Chaz Marler from Pair of Dice Paradise here, and I was recently having a discussion about the different approaches that the people in my board game club take to playing games. The discussion of gamer profiles soon referenced an article published by Wizards of the Coast in 2013 about the 3 general player profiles that they keep in mind when designing cards for the game Magic the Gathering. And although the profiles in the article were specific to Magic, I find that they're applicable to board gamers as well. For example, the first of their player profiles to receive a name was Timmy. Now, Timmy doesn't win very often. Oh, but when he does win, he wants to win big. This player is motivated purely by fun and by having a really good story to tell afterwards. He wants the way that he plays to have a certain flair that, when he does pull off a win, makes such an impression on his opponent that they literally stand up in stunned silence and salute Timmy, even if not using all of their fingers. Now, by contrast, the second player profile that Wizards gave a name to was Johnny. Now, as with Timmy, winning isn't everything to Johnny. But whereas Timmy's focus is on the social aspect of gaming, Johnny's is on manipulating the aspects of the game itself, figuring out how this puzzle works and how that information can be used to his advantage. Johnny's favorite gaming experiences are when he can pull off a win using an underused strategy, or better yet, develop a unique strategy that's all his own. Now, he may win only 1/10 of the games that he plays, but it doesn't matter, because winning is secondary to discovering new combos, card combinations, and ways to operate the game in ways that his opponents never expect. Which brings us to the third of Wizards' 3-player profiles, Spike. Now, for Spike, winning is what games are all about. Spike isn't about storytelling or experimentation, he is about winning. Accomplishing this may mean looking up strategy guides online and repeating the most effective strategy to accomplish the win, even if it's a strategy that was developed by someone else. Spike's favorite gaming experiences are those that provide the adrenaline rush of victory, even when played in an official tournament setting or even just casually with friends. Do you think that your playstyle fits any of these profiles? And if so, what's your ratio of each one? And better yet, how do the profiles of your favorite gamers to play with compare to your own?
Hello, my friends. I'm Professor Hans von Puppet. Today we'll be taking a look at a Euro-inspired area enclosure worker
placement bluffing game, which is heavy on downtime, but still gateway-ish and fiddly.
Hello. Today we'll be talking about drafting. In drafting, you'll get a number of cards or tiles or whatever. You get a pool of something, and you have to choose one of those things and then send the rest of the things you don't select to the next player. And from your other player, you will receive his discarded thing or diswanted, unwanted things. But maybe they're good for you. So you pick up those cards there and pick from those and send them on. And you go like this until you've all selected a number of cards or tiles or whatever it is, and you are ready to play. Because drafting is not usually part of the game itself, but it is the part of the game. Just to set up the resources or set up the different abilities that you can send around before you actually start the game. It's usually meant to be a more balancing effect, because normally in games where, let's say a card game, you just deal out the cards to each player and you get what you get. You can't select anything else. But with drafting, you have a choice and you can choose what to keep and choose what to send on, and maybe with a number of players you get that discarded pile back to your hand again, so you can choose from that. So drafting is a much better way to balancing out the start resources where there are random elements.
Well, I hope that cleared things up for you. Until next time, have fun gaming.
Hey folks, today I wanted to talk a little bit about quitting a game halfway through. Now this happens, right? You're in the middle of playing a game when someone says, "I've got to go." And how do you deal with that? When is it appropriate? Should it ever be done? Etc. And there's different thoughts on this subject. Now, I think the one time that it's obvious is when there is an actual true emergency. I remember distinctly one time when I was in the middle of playing a game, my wife called, said that one of my daughters had fallen, and was bleeding, and we had to go to the hospital, and I dropped everything. I told the guys, I'm sorry, my daughter's going to the hospital, I'm gone. I didn't even give anyone a chance to say goodbye. I was out, gone, took her to the hospital, didn't even go back, got my games from the guys a couple days later. Nobody ever complained about that. I can't imagine anybody in their right mind complaining about that. If someone has a problem with that, that would be very odd. Or if someone gets violently sick, or even not even just violently sick, but sick in the middle of a game, or whatever. Obviously, an emergency will disrupt the game. But what about those people who say, guys, it's 9 o'clock and I really need to get going? And you say, well, hey, look, if you knew you were going to be leaving at 9 o'clock, you shouldn't have started this game. Well, here's the deal with this. In games, there's a time limit on each game. And when you go to game get-togethers, these time limits are sometimes wrong because sometimes the publisher has flat out lied. I don't know how some of these guys justify the times they put on the box, but apparently the times that they put on these games are times that only if everyone is a speed player and throwing dice as fast as they can they finish the game. Other times, players will outright lie. You'll say, how long does this game take? And they'll be like, probably 30 minutes. When they have probably never played a 30-minute version of that game in their lives. But people always tend to go down on time. I got some people in my gaming group who was like, we'll be done in 15 minutes. No, you will not be done in 15 minutes. Stop saying that. And I've been even guilty of that myself, where we will say, I don't think it's as long, and it turns out to be longer. So we have to be very cautious in that regard. And sometimes a game will go on longer because one player or multiple players just drags the length of the game down. It's kind of a different subject, but we know this analysis paralysis. There are some people who, when they play a game, they turn a 30-minute game into an hour, they turn an hour into 2 hours, they turn a 3-hour game into a 200-year game. They just play very slowly and they slow everything down. The first time you play games, they're going to be longer than normal. So what do you do in these instances? I think that when you go into a game, if you have a time limit, you need to say, guys, no matter what else happens here, I need to be done at 8. If people agree to that and you start the game, I think you are completely justified in saying, hey, it's 7:55, I need to get going, we're not done here. That seems you gave people a heads up warning. I think it's even fair if someone says, hey, let's play this game and it only takes an hour, and 3 hours later you say, hey, I really need to get going here. Again, the person who started the game said it only took an hour, and I don't feel like you should feel bad because that game went very long for either the box lying or the players lying or what have you. Now, if you don't, let's say the player says that it takes 2 hours and you start the game and you, in an hour in, you're like, I have to get going here. That's more problematic. Now, I've seen this a couple times. People will quit a game halfway through because they do not like the game. That is very problematic. If you don't like a game, that's fine. And I think it's reasonable to say, guys, I really am not enjoying this game. Do you mind if I bow out of it? And I would think that if they were players who had any kind of sense of fair play, they would probably say yes, because who wants to play with someone who's not enjoying the game? However, many games have things that if a player leaves, the whole balance of the game is up. Let's just say it's a fighting game, and I got Susan, me, Billy, and Bob wants to leave. Well, now I'm in the middle of Susan and Billy, and they're going to just wail on me. So that doesn't seem fair to me that Bob has left. And so that sort of thing can be problematic, or just shares, money, points, all sorts of things. A game is just really, most games do not handle players leaving or coming in. It's always the games that do handle it, like Shadows over Camelot and such, I've always been a big fan of, because they do handle players jumping in or jumping out. Party games, easy to jump in and jump out. But leaving a game because you don't like it, first of all, I would say, how long does the game take? If it's not that much longer, just suck it up. You don't ever have to play that game again. No one can make you play a game. So just suck it up at time, because if you quit a game because you are disliking it, you are not only transferring your dislike to everyone else, you are kind of ruining that game experience for everybody. Now, it's possible. You might say, man, I'm really hating this game. It's possible that everyone is hating it. I've noticed, because this has happened in my group many times. And then everybody can be like, yeah, let's just put this one away. It's not doing any good for anybody. But if they are really having a good time, don't ruin their good time because you want to finish early. So that's one thing. The other thing is just for time. And if time does creep up on you and you have to go, you have to go. I'm not wanting people to lose jobs or lose sleep or lose relationships because, well, I know, honey, I said that I would be home at 8 o'clock, but this game went long, and that's why it's 11 and I'm here now. That's problematic, but I think that these things can be clearly stated before a game. Game teachers, be honest when you say how long a game will go. And if you don't know, make provisions for the fact that people may have to leave before the game is over. Game players, find out how long a game is before you jump into it and realize that the games always could be a little bit longer than they are. Leaving halfway through a game, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, or actually, we got more of this episode to go through. Come on, let's move on.
Hi guys, my name is Dave Luza and this is Playing the News. The month of May already brought a couple of really warm days to the Netherlands, and this triggered a spike in holiday bookings. Because holidays should all be about having a good time, the online rating site Zoover is again addressing one of the biggest irritations amongst its users: the run for the sunbeds. If you're not familiar, every day before breakfast, people will run out to the sunbeds and try to claim the best sunbed closest to the pool with a towel, but only to return to that sunbed far, far later in the day. And this causes a lot of frustration and irritation among other tourists. This week I am playing a game that addresses just this phenomenon. This week I am playing Cool am Pool. Cool am Pool starts with the clockwise claiming of the sunbeds, and when all but these two are claimed, the real action starts. On your turn you roll the six-sided dice with the goal of having them all show one color. You can re-roll by using beach balls or by putting aside all the lifeguard dice and at least one colored dice. When you are done rolling, the grumpy lifeguard will move as many steps as lifeguard faces are shown, and he will block either a row or a column depending on his position. Now, to ultimately own a sunbed, players must use their colored dice. The color decides the column and the amount decides the row. If the sunbed you want to take has your color, great, it is yours, you turn it over and let it show your tourist. But if it's someone else's towel, you can take one of your tourist tokens and put it on someone else's towel. The game rewards such naughty behavior with 2 beach balls. Now, if the owner of that towel gets the same result, he can kick you back off. But if you get that same result, you can take off the towel and put your own in its place. The first 2 players who get 5 dice in one color will get one of those, and after the game's end, it's time to add up the points. Cool am Pool is a fun little game where cleverness and luck will show who is the coolest am Pool. Thanks for watching and see you next week.
Hi folks, Nils again, Silver Splashspiele, and in the best and the worst, we are talking about Valley of the Kings Afterlife, the second game from Aldrug in Valley of the Kings. My favorite part on Valley of the Kings Afterlife is for a deck builder. First of all, it's a deck builder. And deck builders are more or less always the same. You have a bunch of cards, you can use the money to buy other cards. Here's the catch on this game. You always have a pyramid of cards available, but you always can only buy the bottom row. So you can buy one out of these 3 cards here for 9, 8 or 7. It doesn't matter which card you are buying. However, let's say you are buying this card, then these cards dropping down. And that is a real cool mechanic I've never seen before. So when you buy this, you can decide this or that is dropping down, but then this card is falling down, and now you can buy. This is a cool mechanic I've never seen in a deck builder game before, to determine which card is available, but also for having a forecast on what is coming next to the market, and you can manipulate the forecast a little bit. Really cool idea. However, flip side of this is, and this is the real bad part on that game, it's a deck builder. So, do you have the same feeling of, oh, let's play a new game. Valley of the Kings Afterlife, it's a new game. What is this game all about? It's a deck builder. Seriously, another deck builder? We have 30 different deck builders in our shell. Yeah, it is a new deck builder. Let's try it out. So, having just another copy of Dominion is simply another deck builder. that was my personal favorite of Valley of the Kings, Afterlife, Alderac games. And see you next time. Thanks for watching. Niels, Soul's Brettspiele. Bye bye.
Hello, Chapheads. Would you like to see a brand new game fresh from France? Well, this is BD. No, it's not. Where did I put it? This is BD. What's BD, you say? Well, in French, BD means comic book or graphic novel. So this is comic book, the game collectors, game collecting game of comics. In this 2 to 6 player game, players will have a handful of cards which will be comic books, and they will select 3 issue 1s to be their favourites that they're trying to collect throughout the game. They will also have 3 that they want to sell. On a player's turn, they can go to the library and buy either a brand new issue or a back issue, but they have to pay the corresponding cost at a minimum. Or they could go and buy a comic from one of their friends at the minimum stated price. But you have to be careful because other players may want to outbid you, which means that you'll have to go somewhere else and bid on something else. Or if I'm hard for money, I could go and work for a comic book company. I could go here and get paid 7 money and then print off 3 new editions of comic books. Or I may choose to stay at home and reorganize my BD collection and put new ones out and then maybe swap this for that and make that price lower than the other. At the beginning of your turn, you will pay for the item you're bidding for, you will collect it and add it to your hand and then choose another action. When a player has a certain amount of cards in their hand, that signals the end of the game. If you've got anyone out on the space, you instantly collect that card and add it to your hand. Then there's the big reveal. You then add the cards from your hand which match the series. And then you count your points. 5 points for each comic there, 3 points for each comic there, 1 point for each comic there. The player with the most points is the winner. So that's BD, a quick playing, easy to learn set collection game. But when will it be coming to you? That is je ne sais pas.
Hi, Suzanne here with this week's featured board game app. At long last, the game that's been on my most anticipated list 2 years in a row finally hit the App Store. So let's take a quick look at the Pathfinder Adventure card game. The Pathfinder Adventure card game is a staple in many gamers' collections. It's cooperative and difficult, and you get to build characters with each confrontation having a lasting impact on those characters. I was really happy when it was announced Obsidian would be developing the app version, and overall my hopes have been met. The Pathfinder app is polished, deep, and fun. The app is free to download and play through the first tutorial-like campaign. There is an in-game gold currency that you earn really slowly, and the things you can purchase with it are really expensive. But there is a one-time full campaign unlock for $25. This gives you access to all the campaigns and characters for Rise of the Rune Lords, some of which haven't been implemented yet. I like this model for this kind of game because it lets you get a solid feel for whether or not you'll really enjoy the app, but it charges what I think is a fair premium price for the full game. There's a lot going on in this app, but the core elements are all here. It looks great and the design really enhances the setting. There's a tutorial and rules and a card index. The UI is intuitive overall, and I think that new players can learn the game from the app, but the nuance on how to use card and character abilities will definitely take some time to learn. The biggest issue is the app has some bugs, and some of them are significant because they result in the loss of campaign progress. That said, Obsidian is taking bug reports and patching things as quickly as they can. I have confidence they'll continue to optimize and resolve, resulting in a near-perfect gaming app. I love experiencing the Pathfinder Adventure card game this way. The depth and variety is astonishing, and the game is so immersive and fun, with none of that setup and breakdown. Since the app is free to download, you have nothing to lose, and I highly recommend you give it a try.
You know that I like top 10 lists, but not all of them make sense for their own video, and most of them don't make sense at all. So these are totally useless top lists. Today is our top 5 things that if you step on them cause extreme pain. This came to my mind the other day because I've stepped on a lot of components. Cubes are a real pain in the neck. Meeples aren't so bad. Discs, they don't feel that bad to step on. But what 5 things are horrible to step on? Number 5 are the ships from the Avalon Hill Cosmic Encounter. No matter which way you drop these ships, it seems, when you step on them, they go into your foot with some massive pain. Ow! Number 4 is the Galaxy Trucker rockets. These things only really hurt when they're on the upright, but they are very pointy and they're very small, so you will not notice them, and they seem to penetrate socks very easily. Number 3, the pyramids in Ice House. Oh, I love these pyramids. They're wonderful. They just did a Kickstarter for these. They can be used in so many ways, but those small ones will destroy a poor foot in the middle of the night. And then right behind them, number 2, this is in lots of games, the 4-sided die. This seems made for people to step on and hurt their feet. 6-sided, 20-sided, 8-sided, 10-sided, they all can be lived with. 4-sided dice, they are like an enemy caltrop that you throw down and let someone walk on. I have stepped on these before, and I've lived to tell the tale, but it hasn't been pleasant. And number 1, the War Suns from Twilight Imperium 3. These things, some of the most dastardly things to step on, just basically half balls that are filled with spikes in every direction. If you step on one of these, and I have not, I don't believe you will live to tell the tale. All right, top 5 things that are horrible to step on. Let's get away from this useless stuff and back to something that helps people.
Open the Box Games Jr. and welcome to Component Moment. And today we're going to take a look at Onitama. So let's open the box. Onitama is a game of martial arts strategy, and I know a lot about that. It comes with a deck of move cards, and you don't use them all every time you play, so there are loads of combinations. Instead of a board, it comes with a play mat. It's all about protecting your schools and your masters. And you do that by using your students. And there are 2 different colors, red and blue. Ta-da! And all of it stores in this great magnetic box. How awesome is that? Have you played this great Dice Tower Essential? Tell me in the comments below. So I'm Ian from Open the Box Games Jr. See you next time. Bye!
Hey folks, that's it for this time. Don't forget to come back tonight for the live Q&A with me and my wife. We look forward to seeing you with our live stuff later on this week. Havoc in Homestead. And like I said, convention season's around the corner. We're going to see many of you there. But don't worry, until convention season, we're not stopping here. We're going to be doing more reviews and more comparison videos. There's all sorts of things that we're always working on. We're very glad for those of you who watch our stuff. Thank you for watching Board Game Breakfast. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and this has been The Dice Tower.
Thanks for watching Board Game Breakfast. Tune in each week for your daily dose of gaming goodness with Tom Vasel and all the gang. Until next time, I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching Board Game Breakfast, a Dice Tower production, sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., an amazing place to buy board games. Cool stuff, in stock, at CoolStuffInc.com.